Hi friends, it's Morgan with Compass Rose Astrology, and welcome to a new Celestial Sunday where we go through all the week's astrology and all the different aspects and energies that you might be experiencing or feeling this week. And this is a kind of a big week. We actually have a lot going on, and we also have Aquarius season coming up, so that's a really fun topic I want to kind of get into detail about as soon as that comes up in the discussion. But yeah, so I would love to hear if any of these aspects or anything really like resonates with you, or if any of these stories that I'm going to kind of tell or like themes resonate with you. So please leave any comments or anything, because I just love to kind of talk about what everyone's experiencing and feeling during these fun transits. And we start off kind of right with a bang. This week we have the Sun and Pluto coming into a conjunction in Capricorn, and we're definitely going to be feeling it today on Sunday, but it's going to kind of perfect on the 18th. And that is when we say perfect, that means it comes into like perfect angle to each other. And so they come right into conjunction. They're right kind of mushed up next to each other like a sandwich in Capricorn. So what does this mean? Between the Sun and Pluto, this is basically the transit that is merging of the ego, the Sun, and finality, which is Pluto, symbolized by Pluto. And there's kind of this sense of ego death here. The Sun, which is typically the planet that is kind of the symbol of our mind, it's our ego, our kind of spiritual presence here on Earth. It comes into direct contact with Pluto, which is symbolic of death, rebirth, reconstruction, kind of a ruining the foundations of something that already wasn't very strong to begin with, but needs to be rebuilt, basically. So it's not a bad planet or transit or aspect to have, but it definitely is very powerful because Pluto also expands. It's like kind of an earthquake, and all the fissures, they like reach out to so many places that you wouldn't really expect it to touch, but it does because it's so powerful. So to me, this is very much a Tower and a Fool kind of a tarot card moment, if you're familiar with tarot. And I mean that in that way, that you just have to really trust the process here, because there's no sense in fighting it. Unfortunately, Pluto is going to happen to all of us, no matter what, in one way or another. And it's not always a bad thing. It usually leads to rebirth, something new, something good and helpful and more conducive to the way that we want to live our lives, basically. So, but there has to be an ego death kind of along the way with this sort of a transit. So there are three kind of themes that I came up with that make me think, that I think of when this sort of transit comes around. And the first is seeing past aggression. And usually if a person is aggressive or really like outwardly kind of material focused, it can be based in fear, like a fear of lack or a fear of being attacked or something, like, or being found out, I guess. I don't know, and just being really vulnerable. This transit it allows you to kind of look past a person's exterior and see exactly what motivates them. And honestly, it might not be super pleasant to see, because usually it shows a really vulnerable side of a person that is rooted in kind of poor motivation. So there's also kind of a sense of judgment here, and also compassion, that it's important to have compassion when you see things that make a person vulnerable, basically. The second theme that I have is intensifying your own natural fire. So when I say that, it comes from Pluto, which basically, like I said, it exaggerates everything. And the Sun symbolizes your own kind of fire, that really deep internal yearning. And this means that Pluto can make that go into complete overdrive in this transit. So you could be really experiencing this intense kind of overwhelming desire to succeed or to do something that has until now been more of like a seed kind of inside of you, and now it's just really getting ignited. It's being dug up to the surface, and Pluto is really kind of bringing it to light and forcing it to take roots and grow, which is the best way that I can put it. And the third theme that I want you to look for is this sense of domineering tendencies. And when I say that, I mean that the shadow kind of side of the sun can indicate being kind of overbearing and having some domineering qualities. And Pluto just really makes that even more intense. So if you or a loved one have kind of a natural inclination to be like a little bit overwhelming or overbearing at times, maybe by trying to kind of keep things, the sense of overwhelming because you want to keep things under control at times, or to be helpful, this may become really strong to the point that it could be a little bit annoying or irritating. So just kind of keep your eye and your mind on that, because if that's a trait that you kind of typically embody, maybe you might want to like kind of harness that kind of energy a little bit, or if someone else is acting that way towards you, it's just kind of good to know where that might be coming from. And all of this is happening on the same day as Mercury stations direct in Capricorn. So there's going to be kind of this, it's a lot of activity, a lot of movement on this day, and a lot of kind of masculine, proactive traits happening. And by Mercury moving direct in Capricorn, this allows you, after a time of feeling kind of set back or maybe not fully being able to express yourself completely, you can finally put yourself out there. You're finally feeling a little more comfortable, or maybe things are finally starting to go correctly, technology-wise or travel-wise. Maybe things were delayed for a while. Things will finally get back on track, and you're going to be able to communicate your ideas correctly after maybe a time of not being able to. Especially in Capricorn, this can be in regards to where you like put your time and your energy into your strong future or your legacy, like your job or your family. And this could also be like your financial obligations. It could be like investments, like you might be taking a look at that because maybe they took a hit during the Mercury retrograde. So if you've been struggling to kind of like make it through some unexpected changes in the workplace or your own family or your own pattern of thinking even, things will start to kind of feel normal, and it'll give you a bit of a stronger push in how to accomplish your ideas and how to succeed in that area of your life. Then on the 19th, we have Venus moving into a conjunction with Saturn. This is kind of exciting to me. I really like this. It's actually going to be happening on Sunday of next week, but it's something to start thinking about because Venus and Saturn, they're two really different planets, right? They are mostly indicative when they're put together, I think, of social justice, kind of balance and fairness, and independence before codependence. Sometimes it also can indicate the harsh sword of justice, like cutting things off, being a little bit kind of cold and detached at points, but also doing the thing that needs to be done and allowing the hard truths to come out, basically. So when Saturn and Venus conjoin, they're going to kind of add their archetypes together along with the archetype of Aquarius, which is the sign that this is happening in. And this is very much kind of a kind of cold, reasoning, thoughtful, introspective kind of a sign. So this could be happening very kind of mentally, but it also will very much present itself kind of actively in front of you as well. And the thing about Saturn too is it might take some time, or it could be something that's been a long time building for you. So that's just something to keep in mind, that these energies will start to be coming up and they'll eventually come to a head and like later in the week. On the 20th, I think this is our busiest day this week. It is finally Aquarius season, so the sun finally moves into the sign of Aquarius, and just kind of to give you a breakdown of what kind of themes and like overarching kind of umbrella of thought that we will be experiencing during Aquarius season is to kind of break down what the Aquarius sign is. And I have a video coming out on that this week to give a better idea of like the themes and the archetype of the sign itself. But just to give you kind of a rundown now, Aquarius is the sign of the water bearer. It's also the sign that belongs to the darkest part of winter right now, right? In the northern hemisphere. And that is when the days are short. There is very little light. We're at like the coldest part of the season. And this is also a masculine sign, which means it's a very proactive sign, but it's also a fixed sign. And my favorite example of Aquarius that I could come up with is it's kind of like a hurricane. We got that air energy. We also have it being kind of fixed in places at points, like it can just kind of mull and sit, even though it does typically kind of move around, but there's always like patches where hurricanes usually occur, right? And I'm not talking about it in like a destructive sense, because Aquarius isn't destructive. They are innovative, and they are products of change. Is that the right way to put it? They love to change things. They love societal change. They're really driven to affect community and society. And they typically are really internalized, which is also kind of symbolic of the hurricane, that it's just kind of a contained mass of air with the eye of the storm in the center. And I really think that's kind of symbolic of Aquarius, who always is very internalized, and they are also, it's ruled by Saturn, and so they are also very independent and self-assured. Like they don't really need other people to assure them of things. So, and they're also, their thought processes are very internalized, and they don't always like share that part of themselves. So, and just as an example, like in my own life, is that I like to hike, and there are often hurricane level winds on the mountains that just kind of come out of nowhere sometimes. You can definitely check forecasts, but sometimes it gets a lot worse than the weather websites or whatever say, because of the geography of the land. And so I think Aquarius is kind of like this, because they're often unexpectedly strong. They're very steadfast, and they really don't wear their emotions at all. It's all like kind of logic for them. And it's often hard to understand what's happening in their heads, because it's like a whirl of movement all the time, and that's how they process their emotions, is through their thoughts. I love Aquarius. I think it's an awesome sign. And so that's just an idea of what to think about, of how it might show up for you. This kind of like overarching theme of maybe like processing emotions through thought. That could be a big thing, or having a societal effect, or like basically kind of putting yourself out there is a big thing that you might be feeling or experiencing in this season. And Uranus also on this day is starting to go direct. So it's slowing down. It's still retrograde, but just keep in mind that when a planet slows down to move direct, that means it's like lessening its energy, lessening its effect. So it won't be felt just as much until it really hits that station. And it's going to be happening next week. So this is just something to kind of keep in mind for the next couple days as well. And meanwhile, Uranus is actually making an aspect to the moon, and it's making a trine. And so we're going to feel this turning point. This is very much like it's very much a turning point, because Mercury has been at this degree where the moon is making a trine to Uranus already this month, and it's going retrograde, so it's going to be hitting that trine again later in the week. I think it's on the 29th. So you're going to be starting to feel the emotional side of this Mercury and Uranus trine. And what I mean by this is that there could be some feelings of impatience, because Uranus is very much the planet that's archetypal of like kind of independence. It's also of complete detachment, kind of a feeling that comes with Uranus. So if you might be feeling not only impatience, but also not wanting to be in a place that you currently are, that could be affecting you as well. Maybe you're getting sick of the daily grind. You could be getting fed up with someone that's kind of a maternal or feminine person in your life. And that's very much indicative of the moon. Like, the moon symbolizes feminine energies and mothers. So when Uranus is really freeing up your emotions right now, and it could feel like a steady loosening, or just a final, like you're breathing out, just letting go, you know? And it's also allowing you to feel the way you want to feel, and also feel a little bit empowered at the same time. So take advantage of that moment, because it's going to lead to really great changes when Mercury finally goes trine with Uranus. And on the 21st, right at the beginning of Aquarius season, we have a new moon in Aquarius that is also sextiling Jupiter in Aries. And I really love this aspect. This is probably my favorite one this month, I think. And it's just incredibly powerful. So what do we mean by a new moon? Usually a new moon symbolizes kind of new changes, new pathways, new projects, a new effort to do something. And with Aries there, it's basically like with Jupiter in Aries, it's like taking the bull by the horns and getting started on something that's really inspiring, really courageous and brave and truly innovative. And you're being buoyed kind of by Aquarius and Aries. These are two very independent go-getter signs that are willing to kind of go to the ends of the earth for what they believe in. And they have ultimate staying power, these two signs do. And whatever you begin now is going to make it. And you're going to get a really lucky boost from Jupiter. So this is a really intense electional aspect. Make the best of it, absolutely, is what I can tell you. Even if you're in the dark kind of about something and not really sure how you want to move forward or what the end game is going to look like, find courage in yourself, because Aries is that's the light of the seasons, right? And we're in Aquarius, which is the dark of the seasons. Aries is going to light your way, and it's going to there might be a big turning point once we hit Aries season in a couple months, but take the chance right now to do something great, because I really think this is the beginning of something great for a lot of people out there. So especially if you have like really strong Jupiter placements, or a strong Jupiter placement or strong Aries placements as well. So yeah, I hope these aspects in this kind of discussion was fun for you. It was really fun for me. I love talking through this kind of stuff. If you want me to go into more detail on any of these aspects, just let me know, and I can make like little videos on each aspect if you think that would be most helpful. So I look forward to talking to you guys in our next video. Bye.